A space for us.
Un espacio para nosotras.
Un espace pour nous.
My name is Sobhi Khatib. I work as a senior lecturer researcher at Amsterdam University of Applied Sciences, where I manage a program on the intersection of technology, human rights, and system change. I'm also a diversity and inclusion consultant. I'm a co-founder and a chair of Hamli Netherlands, which is an organization that is focused on the protection of digital rights of Palestinians, but also in general in the MENA region, and co-chair and founder of Hummus Academy, which is about decolonizing cuisines. Well, I also volunteer with Het Actiefond as a regional advisor, where we give money to activists worldwide. My focus is mostly on the East section, so Russia, Ukraine, the Middle East, and Central Asia. And there are many different hats, but they're all connected. They all connect under really this place of how we can make sure that people have the power to resist the powerful. And this really comes down in today's world to also digital rights. And this is where I see really the connection between all those different activities. Because one of the things that is sometimes missing is the understanding for NGOs how much it's important for us to tackle and talk about digital rights. Many people say it as far and it's not really connected to their work. However, it's very much in the essence of basically our rights as we know them, but just manifested on a different level, which is the digital one. Eventually, like many people, I feel they want to already go to the place of policies, regulation, laws, and I feel like we are not fully there yet. Let's just keep it on the discussion level. Because eventually, if we want to really create a lasting change, it's not about a policy you will put or a law that will be enforced, but it's about the discussion that we have as people, as communities, as societies. And this is, for me, the essence actually that we need to look at when it comes to the metaverse in general, but to other technologies. Because when we discuss, we also know how to express ourselves, but we know how things maybe would be looked from a different angle, from a different perspective. And sometimes we'll be like, oh, I didn't think about that. Lovely. Or no, you're not convincing me. Or you become. So for me, it's really about keeping this dialogue between different people alive. I think one of the things that we have achieved by now technologically is a great individual experience. So when you look at the VR, there are many different apps, games, things that you as an individual enjoy it, love it, and go to really new level when watching movies or doing different experiences. However, on a collective level, when we talk about experiences as a group of people together, we're still not really there. We're still not in the place we can really interact in a very good way, and we still explore, I think, in different also technological spaces how we can go to that place of, I would say, knowing how to experience this as a group. The other aspect, and this is the thing when it comes to those created metaverses, most of those created metaverses have a capitalistic thinking behind it. And it's kind of understood because eventually, if you are investing money into those clouds and into those things, you want return on your investment. What we don't see yet, and I hope to see it soon, is a collective of people who say, you know what, we want to raise money to create our own metaverse to reflect our ideology in it. And then when you have that, you can control that metaverse with the way you would like it to be. And on the other hand, you still, though, don't really own some of the other aspects, of course, because you still you need to hire your server somewhere, you need to use the services of those big techs. So unfortunately, you cannot fully be independent. That's still not the case. Maybe Web3 at some point will enable that kind of, I would say, independency. But at least we slowly gain the space to become the communities that we want to see in the real life. Well, I think it's an important question. We talk about like, people as consumers or as creators, because so far we have been consumers, and this is the power of Web3 and different metaverses, that we can become the creators, but I would mostly say co-creators, because as people, we sometimes lack the resources or the technology or whatever to be fully the creators. So we need to be co-creators, but with, I would say, companies, organizations that have some ethical values that we also respect and would love to see the manifestation of them. So that's when it comes to co-creation. Some, I would say, social media platforms started already with the concept of your social media content is yours, and you get money from whatever you're posting or whatever you're creating, which is a great step. But this is, I would say, only the first step on being partner in those worlds, because then you have like this social incentive for you, because now any creator who wants money, it comes mostly from sponsorship and ads, which is sometimes don't put you in like, let's say, that place of being fully independent sometimes, or you can be independent, but you have the goal of getting more brands to sponsor you or to give you money. On the other hand, when we talk about also like social, civil society organizations, we don't really see them on the social media, I would say, platforms, really. Like the only we see them are like putting videos and like putting some things, and are you really reaching people? Like if you look at the number of views that some organizations reach, it's really nothing. And many organizations are not even on really the emerging, I would say, platforms like TikTok. But you need always to know that if you want to reach more people, you need to go where the people are and to speak their language and their way. And if we talk about also, back to what you asked about, we turning from consumers to creators, I would say also it's turning to people who experience things. And this is the power also of some of the technologies, because we become people who experience, I would say, through like the virtual reality or augmented reality, and not only consuming as anyone else, but experiencing it in a way that will affect us on more deeper levels. Well, being fearful of the online world as an activist is very justified, because when it comes actually to your security as an activist, especially under oppressive regimes or places where there's occupation, it's very hard for you to protect yourself. And when it's online, it's easier for governments to basically track you down. It's easier to surveil you. It's easier to. However, the online platforms, if done, I would say, in a good way of communicating between different activists, you can also learn in different ways that you have never had the chance to. For example, if you're an activist who's doing some work, I don't know, in Kenya, and you are thinking very much on the local aspect, you start basically connecting with other activists in Russia who work on the same topic of homophobia, for example. And you start like kind of borrowing different strategies or having different discussions. And those are, I would say, the aspects where we can learn from each other. The other way is about trying to organize as communities. This is harder because this is exactly where oppressive regimes want to prevent, because they want to make sure that there are no collective actions taking place. And this is where I would say sometimes we might just need to go back to the low tech, where you just use phones that are the first generation of phones, the old Nokia ones, that there's only like, calling and SMS and that's it. And you try to like untrace yourself. I would say with every advancement of a new technology and a new opportunities for governments, especially oppressive ones, to track people, there are also more innovative ways that activists find to bypass it. But we need also to remember something. When you want to protect yourself online, it's usually from three actors: individuals, companies, and governments. Individuals, you can easily protect yourself if you follow the normal, usual, I would say, security measures. Companies, you don't want to really protect yourself. It's mostly about protecting your privacy. And there are many different tools to do that, to kind of like different, use VPNs, Tor browser, and different tools to make sure you're filtering I would say, the information, or sending files via signal to other people that can like also disappear, many different ways. From governments, unfortunately, and I'm sorry to be the one to bring those news, if a government really, really wants you, they have enough resources to track you online. So, and I would say governments don't really do that unless it's really extreme cases because it's lots of resources. But we have examples like the Pegasus thing of when basically different governments were buying services of this company to basically track human rights activists and even government officials and so on. So on those levels, it's really hard sometimes to protect yourself. But we need always to balance, how much we can get from the technology and how much it could be really of danger to us. So I would say it is about balancing those things, and you need to be careful, and you need to know when to use some technologies and when not to use it. My advice, use emerging technologies as much as possible, because those are usually not yet tracked, not yet used by, I would say, governments, not yet regulated really. And that's where the opportunity comes actually. So if you start sharing information via NFTs, governments are not there yet to really do and know what's in the NFT. If you start like going to some unknown platforms of metaverses, there's really not much there for people, like I would say, like powerful institutions to know what's taking place there. But if you are already on Facebook, yeah, well, it's obvious that they have already a lot of experience how to deal with Facebook, how to extract information, how to hack to your phone, and so on. So I would really encourage activists to use emerging technologies as much as possible for them to coordinate and communicate and take advantage of this new uncharted area that is a big opportunity. Smaller pieces that can relate to my daily life. So if you tell me about digital transformation, I feel like, oh, I don't know. What? But then when you tell people, when we talk about digital transformation, we talk about how you can participate in the creation of a new working way within your organization. You're like, so you mean email, and you mean like, and you're like, no, we're talking about like even deeper level of how you have the power of decision making and not only the communicating part. So I think when we break down the terms in a way that relates to people's daily life, then people can take more active part in it. So when we talk about digital rights, it sounds like a big term, but it comes down to, can I use my phone in a way that I'm using it and it's not using me? Can I use my phone but making sure my privacy is protected? Can I use my phone making sure that it's a way of assisting me to reach some things and not assisting oppressive governments to reach me? And all of those questions, when they are broken down to those places, people are like, yeah, that's important. Yeah, I would love that. Of course I want that. But when you come with the term of digital rights, do you want digital rights? I guess. But when you say to a person, do you want privacy in your life? Some people even would say, no, I have nothing to hide. I'm like, great. Can I videotape you 24/7? And people are like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, in your shower, in the toilet, while you're having sex, while whatever you're doing, I will just film you all day long because you have nothing to hide, right? And you're like, no, wait, no, I didn't mean that. And it's about really going down to those like nitty-gritty details of breaking it down to the person. What does it mean when we talk about like those big terms? So I think that's one of the ways to make sure that people are more engaged and people are understanding what you're doing. And as an organization, you need also to understand, is this what people needs and wants, as we discussed earlier? Because yeah, it might be important to discuss digital rights, but if you're talking with people who don't have access to food, it's a bit of, I would say, stretched, because I don't, like, let's talk about, I don't know, immigrants or refugees crossing the Mediterranean. Many people, they're like, oh, come on, they came with phones. they have money. They can why they live on our tax money. They have phones because this is their only way of communicating with other people back home. It's not a luxury anymore. It's about this basic need of being in contact with others. And this is what we need also to realize when we talk about really different products. Phones nowadays are not luxury. Phones nowadays are your way to be in touch with others, to be part of a community. So it's important also to understand this, I would say, shifting in the mindset of everyone involved. When it comes to accessing the internet or accessing electricity, it's those things of really trying to understand, I would say, the shifting of how our world is becoming. So big terms need to be broken down, and understanding of the different needs of those technologies in our daily life is also important to be able to address different challenges. I think the most terrifying technological advancement I see, it's around reading body language. Because when algorithms reach a point where they can read your face when you react to something, it's a very dangerous place, because you don't really, you are unable to control your facial expressions or your body language. It comes automatic. You cannot. And so if we reach this place where oppressive regimes can put a camera in a room and just show you the picture of a dictator or a picture of a soldier and see your reaction to it, and based on this, your basically faith is being decided, it's a very scary place, because it's not about your words that you can control. It's about your thoughts and your facial and body language. And this technology exists, and it have been actually more and more in use in some contexts. So for me, this is one of the most scary, I would say, things that are now being used. The best examples on the very optimistic side and positive side is when it comes to, I would say, experiencing what other people experience when it comes to virtual reality. One of the best examples for me is when you give glasses to people and they experience what other people have experienced, positively or negatively. Because you have the chance, for the first time maybe ever in history, to relive what other people could and are living, or seeing different perspective. For me, the fact that you might be, I don't know, physically challenged and you cannot go to some places, and you can just have with a VR the opportunity to move and go around and experience different things is beautiful. The fact that we can just see how alternative worlds can be there by just putting something on our eyes is fascinating. So there are, I would say, those very scary scenarios, but there's also a very beautiful examples of how it can be used. I think the only thing I would like to add is about stories. We need to understand the power of stories when we reach to people. And when we talk about stories, it's about our own stories, but it's about the stories of other people. And stories are also, when we talk about all of those technologies, it really comes down to the story that is on that platform or in that place. So I think we always need to remember that that's what connects us, that's what makes us come together.
A space for us.
Un espacio para nosotras.
Un espace pour nous.